And a very good morning to you. Welcome from Silverstone to the fourth round of the FIA GT3 European Championship season. I'm David Croft. Alongside me in the commentary box, John Watson. Good morning to you, John. Another day potentially where Ferrari could dominate in the GT3, or might we just see a renewed challenge from the BMWs or the Aston Martins this morning?
Well, certainly the Aston Martin sharing the front row of the grid alongside the BMW was a major surprise and I think a major threat that materialised in the first race on Saturday. So do not discount Maxime Martin and Gaël Lesudier in the team LMP Motorsport Aston Martin.
And don't discount our pole sitter as well, Nicky Katzberg, who came through, I think at one stage was 18th in the first race yesterday, came through to finish in the points well within the top 10 in the opening race. He needs to build quite a substantial lead, I think, by the time we get to the pit stops this morning. He
will do. That's a very quick car, and Nicky Katzberg did a great job. I think he passed his lap, in fact, in the event yesterday, so he will try and take full advantage of his pole position into turn one. Of course, turn one here today is Abbey, and it will be Abbey for the future of any FIA events held, or World Championship events to be held at Silverstone.
And you'll be heading straight into a very stiff, what I think is probably a northeasterly breeze here at Silverstone. Today it's a day where we have sunshine, but those three have come dressed for the occasion. T-shirts and jackets, very much the order of the day, because it is just a bit nippy. You can see, John, just at club there, the Marshal's flag, the yellow flag, very, very active in the breeze.
Well, you know, you're going to get your genuine wind tunnel effect. The difference is this isn't going to cost you tens of millions of pounds to find out what it's like to be in a wind tunnel. But the new Silverstone wing on the right-hand side, the grandstands on the left-hand side, and then the run from the exit of club about 450 metres all the way up into Abbey, turn one on this revised Silverstone Grand Prix circuit layout.
27 cars on the grid. You had a shot from behind of the Gravity Charouz Racing Mercedes-Benz of Jan Stovicek and Jakob Nold bringing up the rear, and now we can see the course car right in the centre of the start-finish straight. And on the right-hand side, as we look, Gaël Lesudier, Max and Martin. On the left-hand side is car number 36, Harry Collin and Nicky Katzberg. That's the front row, but let's go a little bit further back to a man that's, well, starting down on row 9 today, Abdulaziz Al Faisal, the Saudi Arabian driver. It was his birthday yesterday. How's he feeling today?
Abdulaziz is going to be a bit of a challenge starting back here, but going to have plenty of friends and family watching back in Saudi Arabia TV.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough race, I think, for us this race. We've got a long way to the front, but I hope if we keep clear out of trouble and we can make our way up to the front, we have a good chance to get in the top 5, and that's what we're aiming for.
Thank you.
And that's not a stupid ambition, a top 5 finish there. Edward Sandstrom in that BMW Z4, I thought drove particularly well yesterday. And we've seen cars coming through the field in the latter stages of these GT3 races, John, and making up significant places.
Yes, because GT3 is based around 3 different grade of drivers. You've got the gold driver, your professional driver, the silver, who is the very gifted but not full-time professional, the bronze, who is maybe more your gentleman owner, and you're not allowed to put 2 gold drivers together. So what teams are looking at trying to achieve is putting 2 silver drivers together, or a bronze and a gold, and that's the field all the way through the 27 cars. Now, some of those pairings will be stronger than others, some will have more consistency than others, and that's the beauty, if you like, of a GT3.
Well, we just saw there, didn't we, the number 32 Belgian Audi Club Team WRT of Tobias Neuser and Didier Andre. Tobias Neuser, a bronze driver, Didier Andre, the Frenchman, a gold driver, and it's Andre that will start off there. You would expect, if a race is run under normal conditions, to see the gold driver staying out as late as possible, handing over to the bronze drivers towards the end of the pit stop window, which comes, just to remind you, between the 25th and 35th minutes.
Yes, and the other thing they've got to be very careful of is that there's a minimum amount of time you're allowed to be in the pit lane. 45 seconds is the minimum amount of time, so the teams have got to make a calculation. And of course, with this being the first time the new pit lane at Silverstone has been in use, so measuring that from the white line as you come in down the pit lane to the white line where you exit the pit lane to get back onto circuit, which is effectively the blend line at the exit of Farm Corner.
Not going to miss the Golf-winged Mercedes-Benz SLS, one of 2 new cars running in the European GT3 Championship this season, along with the Ferrari 458, both new for 2011. That Ferrari 458, the standout car yesterday, and victory for Federico Leo and Francesco Castellacci, who start on the second row for this race. 2 former Formula 3 drivers and GT2 drivers as well. They absolutely knocked the competition for dead yesterday, but we continue to look at some of the Mercedes-Benz. Mike Parisi starting out for the Graf Racing team there. Parisi, a fine GT3 driver, and he starts off this afternoon. I think we can hear from him with Hayley Coxon down on the grid right now.
Mike, you had a good result yesterday. Is it likely to be able to achieve that starting from where you started from on the grid?
I think it is going to be very difficult because the car is very heavy, so at the beginning of the race I think it can be very difficult with the full fuel. So I am going to try to keep the contact with the Ferrari, but their cars are very fast, so I am going to keep fighting.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike Parisi, who came through the field to finish on the podium yesterday, behind Marcus Paltala. A great performance from him in the Ford GT, and Federico Leo, as I said, in the Ferrari, who together with his teammate Francesco Castellacci now heads the Drivers' Championship, the Ferrari taking over at the top. And this one of the other Ferrari 458 Italians for the M-Tech team, Michael Lyons, starting off with Luca Piri taking over a little later on.
Yes, and I think basically the BMW Z4, we see that car on the front row of the grid, and the Ferrari 458 are probably, over the duration of the 1 hour, the quickest cars, and they're also basically the quickest cars in qualifying. And these 2 new models to this year's championship are really now making their mark. As we look a little bit back, Matt Griffin and Duncan Cameron's car, the national flag's actually displayed on part of the bonnet. Just caught that, the Irish flag for Matt Griffin, a good Cork man.
Yes, as John Watson won't be rooting for him, I'm sure, at all today. There are our winners from yesterday on the second row today. They really have hit the ground running, haven't they, at Silverstone this weekend? The former GT2 champions, car number 9, Gaël Lesudier and Maxime Martin, winning here and claiming a podium, I should say, yesterday for the first time since, I think, 2009. They won at Silverstone in driving a Morgan, slightly different car to the Aston Martin.
Different quality of wood in the chassis.
Yes, a Morgan and an Aston Martin, iconically British.
The Morgan, of course, does actually have a ash wood frame to which the body's attached. It's got a ladder frame, I believe, and I assume maybe it was a Morgan Aero, I'm not quite certain, but traditional building and manufacturing crafts from Malvern in Wiltshire.
Beautifully put. Poetic stuff from Mr. Watson there. Nicky Katzberg getting us off. We saw the shot of the faster racing by DB Motorsport BMW, and just making our way down through the grid now. BMW, Mercedes-Benz, a lot of Audis right in the centre of the grid. Car number 22, part of the United Autosports outfit. Mark Patterson and Joseph Osborne, who I was speaking to today down at United Autosports, and both in store or looking forward to as battling a race as they can, but not expecting that Audi to really be featuring at the sharp end.
No, I mean, they've got a little bit more relaxation, I think, of the rules to give them that little bit more performance. But Joe Osborne did a good job. The team are very pleased with his drive yesterday, taking the car to be the lead Audi in the overall results from Saturday's round 3.
Joseph Osborne, the silver driver, and that car number 22. Mark Patterson from the USA, the bronze driver. He came and introduced himself. He said, yes, hey, I'm Mark Patterson. I'm the faster of the two.
I haven't much to add to that one, I think, David.
It was a great introduction. He was slightly putting his tongue in his cheek as he said it, as we sit inside car number 51, the AF Corsa, Daniel Brown and Glyn Geddy, the youngest driver pairing in this GT3 championship, and heading off for the formation lap, and already the Mercedes squealing away.
I mean, there's so much torque. The 6.3 litre V8 engine in the SLS AMG Mercedes-Benz. I mean, it is what you best describe as a very grunty race car. And again, with the weight the car carries, and Mike Parisi just alluding to it earlier in the interview, that he has to be a little bit cautious at the start, but once the fuel load lightens, then he will be certainly a force to be reckoned with.
So let's take you through the grid. As I mentioned, BMW and Aston Martin on the front row, and then it's an all Ferrari second row, Griffin and Castellacci. Ferrari starting sixth, and we have a BMW of Jeroen Den Boer starting in fifth place. Audi and Ferrari, as we just saw from inside car number 51 a few moments ago. Claudia Hurtgen and Caseba Volta losing their lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship after yesterday's race. Taking over now, Federico Leo and Francesco Castellacci on 43 points from Sandstrom, and Al Faisal now in second place. Volta and Hurtgen are currently now in third, but plenty of points to be played for in this race today. Albert von Turnentaxis starts in the Lamborghini, well down on row 10. He had a torrid time of it yesterday, John.
Yeah, he really did struggle. They thought they might have a competitive car. They thought possibly a podium position, but it was like a pack of cards when Albert von Turnentaxis was in the car. They just got mugged at almost every corner, and eventually the performance of the car fell away, as did their eventual finishing position.
And a struggle for car number one as well, last year's runners-up, but taking over the number one because of the team championship standings at the end of it. Paul van Splunteren and Maxime Soule. Soule that starts is underway for this race, down on the 13th row of the grid, third from last. We're just hearing that there is going to be an extra formation lap here at Silverstone this morning. We look from the two race directors' position.
Yes, and interesting, I don't know the reason for that. We've just been advised that there is an extra formation lap. It's the right of the race director to do so, whether he feels that it's of importance to get the field properly positioned. Again, it is the first time this weekend we're seeing an international motor race start from that new start position down at the exit of club. The other thing, of course, is I know that teams fuel their cars. They always put an extra litre or so in. I just hope nobody's gone for the extra half litre, although the cars are running well below race speed, so that shouldn't be an issue.
No, tyre temperature might be a slight issue here. It's an awful lot cooler than it was yesterday afternoon for the first of the GT3 races, but you know, they've got 3.6 miles to get the tyres up.
I don't think that the tyre temperature, the ambient temperatures, you know, in the high teens, low 20s, the wind is blowing strongly from the northeast. That'll take a bit of the top.
Well, we're not going to get an extra formation lap because you saw the course car there divert into the pit lane, so I think getting a bit of duff information there, and I'm glad to say getting a bit of duff information, because we don't want to see the cars filing around in procession. We want to see some racing here, and coming round club now, it's time to get that racing underway. On the left-hand side of the start-finish straight, Maxime Martin. On the right-hand side, Nicky Katzberg. Ferraris queuing up behind. Already out is going off the track as the lights go green. Jockeying for position. We ride on board with car number 51, Glenn, but he's getting caught on the side. Oh, the big contact! Huge contact there as one of the BMWs going straight into the concrete. And I think that was car number 32, the Audi there, of Didier Andre, that got caught up with it as well. But a massive shunt right on the outset. Wouldn't be at all surprised if we don't see a safety car here. Meanwhile, out in front, Maxime Martin has got the jump on Nicky Katzberg, and the Aston leads. That's car number 6, Abdel Al Faisal, who we heard from just before the start of this race, going for a spin, and his hopes of a top 5 finish, I think, spinning away with it. And we have got a safety car situation, John, and I'm not surprised.
Not at all. I mean, the incident going into turn 1, we saw cars tied against the pit wall on the right-hand side, and then the pinch point. Look at the damage. And that's one of the Mercedes. I mean, the whole front bodywork of that car ripped to shreds.
Bryce Bosey in the Heiko Motorsport Mercedes, and he would have felt the full force of that impact there. No real runoff area to the right-hand side, and going straight head first into the concrete. But we have a safety car So the cars will just settle down as they head round Copse at the moment. The marshals just saying, calm down guys, yellow flags, safety car, we're not racing for real here. Maxime Martin out in front, getting away off the line, and as I say, it's car number 33 actually is Greg Franchi, that the other Belgian Audi Club team, WRT, that made his way at the first corner straight off into the gravel.
Yeah, I thought there were 3 cars involved. I didn't see the third, but there it is.
Dimitri Engelder.
Yes. That's big damage around the front of the Aston Martin.
That's a huge amount of damage in that Aston. Well, that's not going to get fixed, is it, John? And at least running and getting to the pits. Let's have a little look as the driver helped away. It's Greg Franchi getting helped clear by the marshals.
So we're just having a look right now at the gravel trap where the SLS Mercedes is about to be pulled up onto the truck to get it taken away to the Parc Fermé, and there you see the Audi. It's probably relatively undamaged, but severe damage to the Mercedes, and also we saw very heavy damage to the front of the Aston Martin that was making its way around the track. Well behind there we see the safety cars still following or taking this line of cars until the Mercedes in particular has been removed from that point on the circuit on the outside of Abbey Corner. We will follow the safety car.
Well, let's just give you the order as it stands. Maxime Martin, who I mentioned, had got up into the lead ahead of Nicky Katzberg, running in second. Matthew Griffin, good start from him, making the jump on Federico Castellacci, who's lost places at the start. Griffin up into third. Running in fourth is Dino Lunardi, as we look at the extent of the damage of that Aston Martin.
I mean, you think about the bodywork, but then all the other ancillaries that are attached to the chassis, water radiators, oil radiators, pipes. So just that car pushed away, and a substantial bill. So that Aston Martin going to be pushed back into the team's box, and the work will begin now just to get all those damaged bits off the car, and then they'll head up to Banbury to Pro Drive to get the replacement parts to get that car ready for the next event.
Yeah, so there's the order as it stands. Aston Martin from BMW, from Ferrari. I mentioned that car number 15, Dino Lunardi in the Audi, up into fourth. In fifth, car number 35, Jerome Dembourg, starting from the third row of the grid. And now we can see a replay in the commentary box here for the first time, John, and all sorts of chaos going on.
Look at the back, you see them as one of those well, that in fact wasn't, it was further in the midfield, and then the contact with the Mercedes and the Aston Martin, that's what did the damage to the Mercedes and to the Aston Martin. The Audi there, you can see also turned backwards, but the fact the Audi going into the gravel.
Well, look, this is Bryce Bosey, who got caught up in all of that, and we can see...
He got hit from behind.
Yeah, didn't he just?
He got tagged from behind and went almost 90 degrees into the pit wall. Then he got second thump, and that was the Aston Martin that we saw then returning to the pits.
And I have to say... Expensive sound, but bits of bodywork flying up into the air there as well, which is not something you want to see.
I just wonder, did the start is inevitable on a rolling start? The front of the grid really backed up the back of the field. See how they're spreading out, and that may have been in fact the cause. But cars are having to dive out to the left and to the right because the lead front rows of the grid had backed it up so much, and then there was the acceleration, and some were getting caught by not getting on the throttle as quickly as others, and I think that's where you'll see the contact at the back of the Mercedes. The Aston moving to left to right hits the back of the Mercedes.
Yeah.
And there's the impact bodywork up in the air and all over the racetrack.
And then just watch here
as the Audi,
as the Audi just comes round, complete innocent passenger in that. Both the Audi and of course the Aston Martin had absolutely no chance of avoiding it as the Mercedes just careered across them.
Yeah, I mean, once the Mercedes had contact, it was like a snooker ball just hitting a corner and then coming straight back into the field. And inevitably, when everybody was so tightly packed, the problem I feel was that the front row of the grid had really backed up the entire field to such an extent that the back of the field hadn't realised the pace at the front, that everybody was just diving for anywhere that was clear track.
Wouldn't surprise me at all, given the amount of damage there, if there isn't a bit of a spillage on the track, some fluids, brake fluid or maybe a bit of oil on the track down there as well, because they were fairly hefty impacts. And also you've got where the accident occurred, John, you've got the pit lane entry right below it, haven't you, as well? I wonder if bits of debris made its way onto the pit lane entry as well, as we see the drivers being helped towards the ambulance there. Shake of the hand for the doctor.
Well, it's only been taken, I assume, just briefly to the medical centre to get a mandatory check out to ensure that there is no injury to either driver. Both appear to be fine. Maybe a little bit of pain from whiplash or something of that nature. I mean, hitting a solid concrete wall. Here we see it again. Look at the way everybody's checking and backing up, and then all of a sudden, on the top right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a Mercedes spear almost 90 degrees into that pit wall.
Yeah, getting tapped from behind. That's it, right there. Getting tapped from the car behind there. We see the bodywork flying up as well. Was it a Mercedes that actually taps this car?
No, I think it was the Aston Martin.
The Aston Martin, was it?
The Aston Martin, I think, tapped it, and that set off the process. Tapped it, then the Aston went from right to left, and then the Mercedes came back and had a second bite of the cherry with the Aston, and involving then the Audi R8 as well.
You see the bonnet cover there, John, completely gone. That's what flew up into the air.
It did, went up just literally at the pit lane exit. Now, the pit lane here at Silverstone, the end of the pit lane is below the level of the track, so whatever flew up in the air may have fluttered like a kite all the way down below the level of the racetrack onto the pit lane exit itself.
And so we have still safety car conditions here. Maxim Martin in the Aston Martin from Nicky Katzberg in the BMW. Currently running in third, Matthew Griffin in the Ferrari 458. Currently running in fourth place and making up ground from the fourth row of the grid, Dino Lenardi. After Dino Lenardi comes Jerome Denbour running in fifth, and we can go down for some reaction with Haley in the pit lane.
Dominic, can you give us an update on Bryce?
Yeah, I think he's okay, but I don't know exactly. So yeah, it was a great accident. I think it was an Audi behind him, and a lot of trouble at the starting procedure. And yeah, bad luck this weekend. And yeah, we can hope that it's the next race we can do some results, because lost points.
Thank you.
Finished 12th yesterday, didn't finish at all today, didn't even make the first corner today. Dominic Baumann, Bryce Bosey's teammate down at Heiko Motorsports.
Yeah, I mean, these starts, rolling starts, are always an issue because the control is with the drivers on the front row of the grid, and they did the right thing. They slowed the pace down. The problem was the midfield and the tail of the grid, because the grid is spread out to the point where they came down to Vale, then it all compacted, but those cars at the back were running slightly more quickly, and it was just confusion, because we saw as the cars took the green light, they were literally spreading out left and right, and in fact some cars were virtually off the racetrack on the left hand side on the run down into Abbey Corner.
So safety car coming in at the end of this lap, and we can get racing again. Martin from Katzberg, from Griffin, from Lunardi, from Denbour, and then the winners from yesterday, Castellacci, currently running in 6th place. Behind him, it's the teammate, the sister Ferrari, the AF Corsa Ferrari team, Glenn Geddy, running in 7th place at the moment. Claudia Hurtgen running in 8th. Michael Lyons running in 9th. Joe Osborne running 10th for Audi. We've lost 10 minutes of this race so far, John. We've only had racing for about 450 metres, haven't we?
Yeah, we did, literally it continued on for about half a lap, but the reality was there was going to be a safety car intervention, and it was necessary to get the cars and the drivers safely removed from the positions that they were in. And so we've lost, you mentioned, almost 10 minutes of this race. So again, that'll have a slightly different dynamic in terms of how teams decide to use the mandatory pit stop, which will come after 25 minutes, and the pit lane will be open for a further 10 minutes. So the serious drivers will have to get on with the job very quickly.
Won't they just? And look, Maxime Martin still trying to get a bit of temperature into the tyres, which will have cooled off as they've completed 3 laps behind the course car. Now round club we go, and I tell you what, Nicky Katzberg, if he can just get his foot down a bit now, might get a really good tow behind that Aston Martin as we go racing again. The Ferrari running wide in 3rd place of Griffin. Into Abbey we go, and it's Maxime Martin leading them through. Bit of jockeying for position between the BMW and the Ferrari. Later down, look, that Audi gaining some great speed at the start. Into the loop now, Maxime Martin continues his lead, and there's a great battle going on between the Ferrari car number 20 and the Audi 22, and that's Luca Piri and Matt Griffin having a bit of battle down there. But the Ferrari under pressure, the Mercedes now getting involved.
Yeah, the Ferrari and the Audi sort of tripped over each other and let the two Mercedes SLS get between them, and Michael Lyons and that Ferrari, I wonder why he was that slow coming into the loop.
Aston Martin leads BMW, leads Ferrari, the top 3 remaining as they were behind the safety car. Dust being kicked up and debris being kicked up there as Joe Osborne continues to lose places in that Audi R8. But so far so good for Maxime Martin, who continues to lead on this, the first lap of racing. Down the old start-finish straight and into Copse they go, swinging through Copse at about 170 kilometres an hour.
Yes, and these two cars are making a mini break from Matt Griffin in the Ferrari in 3rd place. Green flag being waved, everything is now clear on the track, so it is the Aston Martin. Maxime Martin using every opportunity but being pushed absolutely to the limit by Nicky Katzberg and the BMW Z4.
Now this is going to be interesting. Down the hanger straight and into Stowe. I wonder if Nicky Katzberg can get a tow once more and find his way past as the field streams through Chapel. And Katzberg making a little move to the right-hand side, but he wants to stick in the tow as late as he possibly can and isn't close enough to make a move under braking. They don't really brake, they just drop down the gears there. As moving up from the back, Albert von Turner Tax is there in the Lamborghini. And von Turner Tax is currently running down in 16th place, although they started on the 10th row. So he's actually made up a few places, albeit way off the points at the moment and under pressure once again from the Audi behind him. There's the Porsche of Paul van Splonter and Maxim Soule in the car at the moment, making its way up through the field as well as we complete the end of what is the 5th lap of the race, but the first real, 4th lap of the race I should say, but the first real lap of racing. Maxime Martin leads from Nicky Katzberg and still Matthew Griffin in 3rd.
Matthew Griffin now slowly beginning to catch up to the back of the BMW, trying to find a way through as they go through the loop. Aston has just got a nose ahead of the BMW and takes or maintains the lead onto Wellington Straight.
That BMW through the slow corners of the loop, a real menace to the Aston Martin there. I think the Aston Martin's got the straight line speed, but through the loop, certainly you want to be in that faster racing by DB Motorsport.
Oh, and a mistake by Katzberg.
Yeah,
he got the car. Well, the back end snapped out. Suddenly the Ferrari and Matt Griffin all over the rear wing, consolidating, getting himself back, and that's given a little break against Maxime Martin, and it's hard work that Nicky Katzberg is going to need to pull himself back to the Aston. That was a little error, being maybe a little bit too keen under braking. Wave yellow flag coming into Copse corner. I can't see what that's for.
Well, I just wonder if someone's had a little bit of an off down at Copse. We haven't seen yet.
Yes,
someone has. That's one of the Ferraris has had an off, but that's one of the M-Tech Ferraris there. But is it Michael Lyons? I think it might. It might be Michael Lyons that's down there.
Well, he got mugged by the two Mercedes coming out of Village Corner on the previous lap, so maybe that's the car. We don't know. Have to check and see. But Matt Griffin he hoped to gain something out of the mistake by Katzberg, but everything is now almost back to status quo.
It's definitely, if it's one of the M-Tech Mercedes, let's just see from our camera position at Copse.
Ooh, expensive.
Yeah, ouch. And hold your breath as you.
The other thing is, David, the driver's door is on the side against the barrier.
Well, they're going to have to move the car before they get him out of that one there. I think that is actually Michael Lyons who's down there, but no confirmation. I just looking at our timing screens, John. I can't see.
Doesn't go down that far. I think.
It doesn't go down right to the end, but I can't see Michael Lyons, put it this way, running where he was. I can see Maxime Martin though, got a 0.2 of a second lead at the sharp end, out in front, ahead of Nicky Katzberg. Well, they're all going too wide.
Not too wide, they're almost ending up in Bicester Village.
They can go shopping at the outlet centre on this Sunday morning, as it is definitely Michael Lyons out down at turn 9. I can confirm that to you. Great battle going on, though, out in front. Nothing really to separate the Aston and the BMW, which, after making that little error at this corner down at Brooklands on the previous lap, is within touching distance once again. Not close enough to make the move, but certainly close enough to put the pressure on, and kicking up a bit of dirt, taking a bit too much curb.
And clearly Katzberg and the BMW have got the advantage.
Whoa, he's touched him.
Contact coming through Luffield.
Well, that's a little tap, just in case Maxime Martin didn't know he was there. We get a little bit of a tap as well.
Clearly you can see the BMW's strength is in the slower parts of the circuit. In a straight line, just under sheer grunt, sheer aerodynamic drive, the Aston can pull a little advantage over the BMW, but there's inevitably going to be a battle all the way up until the one or both of these two drivers make that mandatory pit stop, and it's not that far away now. 16 and a half minutes into the race, the pit stop window opens in the 25th minute. So things could change in the pit stop. It's an hour long, this race. Races can be won and lost at a corner in the early stages, well, mainly lost rather than won. Let's just see that contact once again. Lucky not to spin the Aston round there. Yeah, I mean, you see the difference in speed. The BMW is so much quicker in the middle of Luffield. That very long right-hand corner. As we look further down the field. Is that Castellecci? Yes, it is. Castellecci making a move on Jerome Dembour, and this is the battle for 5th and 6th place at the moment as they come down into Vale. Camera angle a little bit deceiving, no room for Castellecci to get past. Castellecci yesterday in this particular Ferrari, the black one, number 50, looked really strong and impressive. Watch the battle back at the front. Well, I just wonder there, much better exit from club from Nicky Katzberg, and the gap at the top still at 0.2 of a second. But as we make the run now past Village and on down to the loop, tries to go around the outside a bit this time. He's got to worry because Matt Griffin is right there, but this is the corner going into the second part of the loop, the hairpin itself. He's got the inside line this time round. Has that BMW now got the straight line speed, the better traction? Yes, it has, and Nicky Katzberg takes the lead. Watch for Maxime Martin to come back at the BMW in the run down into Brooklands. As we look at the pit lane and see that, well, he can't. The BMW had the exit speed out of Aintree corner onto the Millennium. But Matt Griffin now wants a bit of the Aston Martin's second place. He's looking at the long way around Luffield, cuts back, trying to get alongside, going through Woodcote. Maybe smells a chance into Woodcote. Has Maxime Martin got just a little bit of a problem, I wonder, here, because he's not fighting back on Nicky Katzberg at all, and he's been reeled in by Matt Griffin in the Ferrari here. Katzberg leads Martin, leads Griffin, BMW leads Aston Martin, leads Ferrari. Round Copse they go, and on towards Maggots and Beckett's. And Nicky Katzberg has managed to pull a comfortable, half a second, just under half a second, and now that he's got the lead, there's nothing that Maxime Martin appears to have in his armoury. He's now got to defend against the Ferrari of Matt Griffin, and Matt Griffin has seen where the BMW got ahead. He will think the Ferrari is capable of doing the same to the Aston as the BMW. Great battle going on in the top three. We can get some more reaction, I think, in a few moments from down in the pit lane, but let's just stay with the battle further down. Castellecci still trying to get in on the action as well. Jerome Dembour holding up the winners from yesterday, and there we see Audi chasing Mercedes-Benz down in, what was that, the battle for 10th and 11th place. As round to complete another lap we go, and look how far wide once again Matt Griffin is running, and I just wonder how long it is before the stewards are going to start saying respect the track limits, final warning for not respecting it, and then maybe show a penalty. Let's go down to Haley in the pit lane. More reaction to the race so far.
Gail, Maxime's fighting hard to hold on to his position. He's just lost out, and now he's got to hold off the Ferrari out there.
Yes, Maxime took a good start, but I think we have some troubles on slow corners, so we are less efficient than yesterday. But we have to fight. We have a 10-second penalty during the pit stop because of the podium of yesterday, but we can do a good result, I think. If you have a good session at the finish, we can do a good result. We have to take points for the championship.
Thank you.
And seeing a replay there of how Maxime Martin lost the lead back in real time. John Watson, we might be seeing how Maxime Martin. Oh, that saved him, isn't it? Down
it's still at Copse. I wonder if that's still Michael Lyons' Ferrari. It's not a Ford.
It's the Ford GT of Marcus Baltala, who came second in that Ford GT. and stricken in the middle of the track.
So that stopped the progress of Matt Griffin, who was getting a run. Copse is not the easiest corner to make an overtaking manoeuvre. Very high-speed approach, and it's a high-speed corner. Again, you've got to be absolutely alongside the car if you've got any chance.
Just spun under his own steam there, so I'm being told. Marcus Paltala. We can see the top three, or the leader, then the battle for second and third. They've moved comfortably ahead of Dino Lunardi in his Audi, still running in fourth place. Then still under pressure, Jerome Dembour and Francesco Castellacci battling for fifth and sixth. Behind Castellacci, keeping pace, is the youngster Glyn Geddy in the AF Corsa, only 20 years of age, great experience in British GT. We ride on board with him right now, coming through Vale. His teammate Daniel Brown, only 19 years of age. Basically trying to make a mockery of the phrase, you can't win anything with kids, John.
Well, I just hope that particular Ferrari, the Glyn Geddy car with Dan Brown, yesterday Dan Brown did a great job in his first stint. They handed the car over to Glyn Geddy and it wouldn't start. They don't know why. They assumed it might have been an overheating starter motor. They couldn't get it to fire, whatever they did. But Maxime Martin still under pressure. BMW, no, first before the Ford has gone off. The Aston Martin still struggling in the low-speed corners. Matt Griffin gets under the rear wing, but the Aston has still got good performance down Wellington Straight.
Might be able to shed a little bit of light on what happened to Michael Lyons as well. We saw him go out at Copse and crash into the tyre barrier. The stewards are now just having a little look at that incident. Claudia Hurtgen was involved as well in the BMW, and it might just be that there was a bit of contact made before Michael Lyons went off the track. They're certainly looking at car number 7, investigating the collision with Michael Lyons. We'll keep you posted with more news from the stewards room in a minute, but back out on track once again. And Matt Griffin is doing his damnedest through Copse, running quite wide through Copse there to try and chase down Maxime Martin. And you can see how Maxime Martin was holding up Nicky Catsburg because of the lead that Catsburg now has got. That's Dan Brown we just saw there, making his way from the pit wall across the grassy lawns of the pit lane here, and then getting his crash helmet on, ready for the pit stop window.
Yeah, it'll be open in 2 minutes' time, so teams are getting prepared. Some will come in at the earliest opportunity. I suspect that Nicky Catsburg is going to stay out in that car until the last possible moment, because the first 5-6 minutes of this race, which he'd hoped to capitalise on, were lost because you were behind the safety car procedure, and that I think will be Catsburg's plan.
Well, let's just see. Close battle for 5th and 6th. They're gaining though on Dino Lunardi in 4th, and 2 Mercedes-Benz really going for it into Vale. Car number 3, Mike Parisi, just ahead of his teammate at Graf Racing, Gary Hirsch. And I just wonder, oh, look how wide Gary Hirsch is going in his pursuit there.
Well, I think he was making a little bit of a mockery of the exit of Club Corner. I think that the race director and the race stewards will be looking at all this, and they'll be putting out advisories. It says car 51, black and white flag for not not respecting track limits.
Well, that car number 51 is the AF Corsa, Glyn Geddy.
Yes, it is. So he's only one of a number of drivers who are running very wide indeed at the exit of Club Corner, and we'll expect to get more messages from the stewards.
Stick a brick wall there, John. They respect the track limits then.
Oh, you can't do that. They're all little darlings these days.
Or spikes or sharks or something like that. That's what it needs there. Meanwhile, down into the complex we go, and what was the final 2 corners, and the BMW making a move on the Audi. I told you Dino Lunardi was being reeled in a bit, and he very much is being reeled in by Jeroen Den Boer as the pit lane window it's 15 seconds away from opening here. Through Copse they go. Our race winners from yesterday, Francesco Castellacci in the Ferrari, just waiting to pick up the pieces.
Well, I'm slightly disappointed. I thought this Ferrari, the car that won yesterday, would have been capable of running more competitively, and they've really sort of run in 5th, 6th place since this race got underway after the safety car went back to the pit lane. And
not forgetting, now the pit lane window is open, Castellacci gets that extra 15-second stationary penalty for winning yesterday. The second place car, Marcus Paltala, the Ford GT that we saw spin, well, they were liable for an extra 10 seconds, and Edvard Sandström in his BMW, when he should have been handing over to Abdul Al-Faisal, would have been liable for a 5-second penalty. So this Ferrari, the black Ferrari in the middle of this battle, is going to lose out in the pit lane with an extra 15-second stationary penalty following their win yesterday.
And with being locked into a four-way battle here for position, Castellacci can't use the potential that the 458 Ferrari has got. Look at running, Glenn running way wide again.
Jerome Dembour, though, right up the back of Dino Lenardi here. Santalot Racing, the Audi, in 4th place. Jerome Dembour running at the moment in 5th place, but for how much longer? Into the loop we go. He's not going to make a move on the inside of that, but let's just see if that BMW can try and muscle his way through. Round the left-hand hairpin. No, just a bit too far back. Meanwhile, under pressure, Francesco Castellacci from the 51 Ferrari, 2 AF Corsa Ferraris here, battling side by side. Is that our race leader coming in?
No,
there,
I think that might have been. I'm not sure. Claudia Hurtgen.
Just having
we've overrun the pits a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe the driver was standing sufficiently far back. No, it's not. So that's in car 76.
Car number 76 coming out. It's not car 76.
No,
there isn't a car 76.
76.
That's the Edward Sandstrom,
yes.
Abdel Al Faisal BMW that we thought might be coming in.
Maybe they should get the correct number on the pit board to give them.
It's car number 6.
Yes.
Is what it is.
So
that's our
look
race
at the lead
leader.
now. We've got about just 4.5 seconds the last time they came across the line, and Matt Griffin still not able to do anything with the Aston Martin ahead, but the battle behind for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th place, that's the one that's catching our attention.
Gleddy, I should say, still hot on the tails of Francesco Castellacci. Still Jerome Dembour hot on the tails of Dino Lenardi. Audi leads BMW from Ferrari 458 from Ferrari 458. And it might just be advisable for a few of them to dive into the pit lane. We shall see. As look at this, the Ferrari making the move now on Maxime Martin, and Matthew Griffin just has to bail out of it at the last moment.
But there was a bit of a compromise from Maxime Martin. Late in the brakes, didn't get the ideal entry into Vale. So go back to Glenn Giddy, and he's having the battle with Castellacci. Again, watch the Ferrari, this red and blue Ferrari on the exit out of the... being advised he's running so wide. I mean, not quite as bad as he's done in earlier laps. He needs to be careful. He doesn't need to have any further warnings.
He's not the only one that's being told as well. Michael Rossi, who we'll see in the GT1 this afternoon, also being told to respect the track limits. But, you know, once you get a black and white flag, a slap on the wrist, you're advisable not to keep on taking liberties with it.
Assuming the driver's able to take aboard that information as we go back to this battle for 4th place. Nicky Katzberg and the sister BMW was able to deal with the Aston Martin for the lead of the race much better than we're seeing this battle for 4th place. The Audi still hanging in there, doing a good job.
Riding on board now with Glenn Geddy. Into Brooklands he goes. Might just spot an opening here if Castellacci can leave the door slightly ajar, which he does. Geddy just a bit too far behind to take any advantage from it. As back on the power through Woodcote and then Luffield we go. 240 kilometres an hour by the time they reach 6th gear down this, well, used to be the old main straight, and now I suppose is the back straight.
Well, into Copse and listening to the little bit of break up of Sands, the cars exit out of Copse and climbing up the hill into this very, very demanding, very challenging, basically right, left, right and Beckett's, and he just working the wheel of the Ferrari. He tends to work the wheel of the Ferrari quite a lot, maybe more than he needs to do, but he is in relative terms not as experienced as some of his competitors.
Right, chasing down Joe Osborne, Thomas Kozitka, who is currently down in 12th place. Osborne in 11th place. We can see that there as someone kicks up a huge cloud of dust there running
down
on
the inside.
Track. Down the inside goes Matt Griffin. Maxime Martin forced onto the grass a little bit. Finally, he gets his opportunity, Matthew Griffin. It's been coming for about 6 laps. And at the halfway stage of the race, forces that Ferrari up into 2nd place.
Yeah, we saw him having a little look a lap earlier to try and make the manoeuvre on Maxime Martin into Bale. Didn't get it done, but this lap dives down and forces the Aston to yield ground. He still had to go the long way around the outside, coming into Club Part 1, Part 2. But once he got the fresh air, let's look again, down the inside. The Aston's got to yield, but it stays because it's a short run, but runs the curb. The Ferrari right out on the outside of the first part of Club, but the job is done. He can then reclaim the racing line for Part 2 and he's taken finally second place from the Aston.
The trouble is, by the time he did it, he was 7.3 seconds behind our race leader. Now, this is yesterday's race winners. Federico Leo is taking over driving duties from Francesco Castellacci. They were running down in about 4th place when they pitted, but they're going to be there for an extra 15 seconds because of the penalty for winning yesterday. So expect them to tumble down the timing sheets by the time the pit window unravels itself.
Let's see how quickly Matt Griffin can make progress. 7.3 seconds is the gap between the lead BMW of Nicky Katzberg and the Aston Martin. It hasn't given up hope of regaining that second place, and certainly Maxime Martin, one of the most capable, and look, he's actually